At this time, we do have a quorum. All members of the commission are present. Would y'all please stand? We'll have the invocation and pledge allegiance. Mr. Turman, would you lead us in prayer?
Yes, let's pray. Father God, we love you today, and we're thankful that you have permitted us to be able to come into this meeting today, and we're thankful for your blessings. Pray you would guide our hearts and minds today. And God, you know the problems and the troubles that this nation's in. It looks like we're facing something very big ahead of us. And I pray that you would just help us and direct the minds and the hearts of those who are in charge. I pray, God, that you would bless our county, continue to help us to grow and prosper in you, and bless the officials of this county. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome all our guests with us today and the news media. We appreciate the news media for helping us keeping the citizens informed. At this time, we need to adopt an official agenda. There's an amendment to the agenda I'd like to present concerning credit cards, and it is first to have that on the agenda. Do I have a motion that we put the credit card item on the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we amend the agenda to include the credit card item.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. There being none, the motion carried. So the official agenda will include the credit card, and we will take that up under new business. I guess it could be old business, could it not?
It could be old business,
We'll
very
take it
old
under
business.
Okay. At this time, we'll hear from our public official. I'll call on Honorable Ben Bowden from the probate judge's office if he'd like to speak to us this morning.
Thank you for the opportunity. I don't have anything for the commission this morning.
Ms. Hart, you don't have anything? Mr. Meeks?
Good morning. Got two items here. We had an individual that donated the sheriff's office a van, and we're gonna take it and kind of do some, probably take some seats out of it. Either way, we got an idea that we're gonna use this van for, but it was just a donation that he made to the sheriff's office for us to use this van. So we're asking that the commission accept this van so that it could fall under our insurance when we need to drive it. And also I got two individuals. The Pilot Club does the Project Lifesaver program, but the sheriff's office actually monitors that, and should we have a client that we have the bracelets on, wander off or whatever, then we had at one time about probably 6 or 7 individuals that was certified to use the equipment, and we had about 9 that was actually trained, but we had half a dozen or so that was qualified to use the equipment. We're down now to probably maybe 3 that's qualified to use the equipment from turnovers and people going, different places, whatever. So I've got 2 individuals that they've got a conference in Orlando, so I'm asking for out-of-state travel for those 2 individuals to go to a conference. We've never been to one. We've never gone to a Project Lifesaver conference. In this conference, they will also be going to a instructor school where they will actually be certified to instruct on how to use the equipment, and so when they get back, we will be able to train our own people here, because the closest guy that we could get to train us, I think, is in Birmingham, and of course he's with I think he's actually maybe a trooper or something, so it, you know, time factor is really hard to do that, so anyway, but we'll be taking care of that, school down there that they go to. But, we're just asking for the out-of-state travel. It's not gonna cost anything. Pilot Club is picking up, they've told us they'll pick that up, when they adopt their new budget. And, so they'll reimburse us on that, so there's no out-of-pocket money to the, county. We're just asking that they be able to use their vehicle for out-of-state travel. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
I don't believe we have anybody that has asked to be on the agenda from the public to comment at this time, but I'd give an opportunity if there's anybody that wishes to address it. There being nothing, we will go into old business. We will take up the item on the credit card policy, and this time I'll ask the commission to authorize the administrator, the revenue commission, and probate judge to evaluate our credit debit card service providers, and to authorize myself as chairman to execute a contract with a selected provider.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we accept that.
Second, Chair.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. There being none, motion carried. Under new business, we will consider approval of the minutes of the June 17, 2014 regular meeting and the June 25th, 2014 special call meeting. What's the wishes of the board?
I make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. There being none, motion carried unanimously. Next item is to consider accounts payable and payroll totals for June 2014.
I'll make a motion that we accept those accounts payable and transfer.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. There being none, motion carried unanimously. Item 3, consider proposal from CDG Engineers for inspection and testing services for a jail addition and renovation projects. You have a copy of those proposals. The proposal is what they think would be the cost. It's an estimated cost, but we need to take action to approve them to do this work for us.
Mr. Chairman, question.
Yes, sir.
Has anybody, I'm sure somebody's read through this,
I have.
know what's going on? Because I just got it.
I'm sorry, he read it.
They attach to the back of their standard fees for different items that they do, and they base their estimate on their standard pricing policy. I think the total estimate is about $8,000, but a lot of it's gonna depend on if there's any problems during the construction, and they have to make additional visits other than those that's scheduled.
They're talking about $8,300? Okay,
It could be less, it could be more,
okay.
just depending on what the requirements are from
I understand now.
from the architect.
Was this comparable to anybody else?
That's the only one we have. I've received this one, and Ms. Petty, did you? I don't think you received another one,
I
did
did
you?
not.
Well, I would make a motion that we accept these testing services at the fees provided.
So I'll second.
Any comments? All in favor of the motion say aye. All opposed, nay. There being none, the motion carried. Next item is consider the request of the Sheriff's Department to accept this donated vehicle.
I so move, Chairman. Accept this vehicle and
I'll
put
second.
insurance on it.
Do we have any comments? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously. Next item is consider out-of-state travel for Sheriff's Department employees to attend the conference in Orlando, Florida at no expense to the county commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
I
Can't
move
pass that up, go with it. That's a motion.
I'll second.
Any comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. There being none, motion carried. Next is consider resolution for approving ALDOT agreement for emergency repair, I guess that's emergency repair, is that correct?
That's correct.
Project on Plywood Mill Road. Could you, Mr. Capps, give us some information on that?
Yeah, this was our big rain we had in May, blew out a roadway pipe on Plywood Mill Road, and that road is a major collector route. And FEMA does not cover major collectors, but the Federal Highway Administration does. So we got this one funded 100% through the Federal Highway. The amount is $30,000, but that's a pretty high estimate. It won't be that much. Pipe's already been replaced, but to do the paving. But anyway, it's 100% money from Federal Highway Administration.
I make a motion, Chairman, we adopt this resolution.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. There being none, motion carried unanimous. Next one is consider resolution requesting federal aid funds for County Road 4. Where is that located and what's it commonly known as?
Okay, this is initiating the paperwork for our normal federal aid money that we get every year. We get about $500,000 each year. And this project begins basically from State Road 55 to where County Road 20 hits it, and it's about intersects it, and it's 7.221 miles in length. You know, this was, we tried to get this in A-Trip, but we didn't get funded for it, so we're just gonna use up regular federal funds to do it. And this gets about half the section from Wing to Florella. About half of that road will be taken care of for this. And that's 2 years' money's worth, and we'll get that other money October the 1st. So I would expect the project would probably take place in the spring of next year.
So you're gonna start on, with 4 runs in 137 and go back east, is that where you're gonna start, or you gonna start in Lockhart?
No, we're gonna start on Lockhart, cause
Lockhart
that's
and
the
go-
worst
go
section,
west.
it's the east half of the road. And,
Go to 20,
right.
first phases.
This federal aid money, though, isn't money that comes directly into the county funds, is it? Isn't
No,
that- that's-
we never see this
You don't
money.
ever
We
see
do-
it?
We do the plans, turn them in, they get, approved, and then the state lets the project, and all we do is pay the match 20%, and we send a check to the state. And then once they do the project, we do estimates each month, and we turn that into the state, and the state pays the contractor. That's how it works.
Is that basically gonna work like County Road 24 did there? And
Same thing.
About the same thing?
Exactly the
Okay,
same thing.
going to be charged, put signs and stuff for
Right.
that, and side, roadside, fixing that. I made a motion, didn't we? On that one, or was that another one?
Take your head.
I make a motion to adopt this.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. There being none, motion carried unanimously. Next item is consider bids for curb and gutter. Mr. Cap?
Yeah, we had one bidder on the curb and gutter. Last year we bid it and didn't get anybody, and I couldn't even get anybody to give me a price. Of course, we didn't need it, but we're gonna need it pretty soon, so we advertised it for 3 weeks in the paper, and we got one bidder, Bullard Excavating is the only bidder we got, and you can see the prices on page 11. So I'd recommend awarding it to Bullard Excavating.
What's the difference between option A and option B?
Option A is when there's 1,000 foot and less of curb on the job, and option B if it's greater than 1,000 feet. A little bit of price break, get more.
I move that we accept the curb and gutter bids.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. There being none, motion carried unanimously. The next item is authorized renewal of contracts with new municipalities for inmate housing. As you'll recall, last year, we did the contracts on an annual basis, and we had a 60-day notice of renewal. And so we're asking, and the rates will stay the same as they are this year, which is $24 a day for housing and $7.50 for meals.
I make a motion, we accept this.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize renewal of these contracts, and that will be, contracts will be filed pending action of the municipality. Is that correct?
That's correct. They'll be asked to sign that, it's their last page, that's what they'll be asked to sign, that's all.
We,
I got a question. Is the city of Fort Walton still is tied in with this at this point in time, basically?
Right now.
I'll ask Mr. Mix, I assume you still getting inmates from all municipalities? You still receiving inmates from all municipalities?
Yes.
When this came up, I had talked to some of the municipalities. They wanted to know if we could reduce the cost, and I told them I did not think so because of a situation with our inmate phone service. And also, we've got an increase in insurance for the inmates. So, yes, I presented it to stay as is. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. There being none, motion carried. We have no board vacancies to be announced for August. This time I'm going to ask our county attorney, Mr. Albritton, to comment on the firearms policy at voting places. And Ms. Bowden, you may also want to interact on this, and Tom.
Okay. The Attorney General yesterday issued a advisory opinion on prohibitions against firearms being used at or being allowed in polling places. The issue came up from, I think, Chambers County, and that county commission had contemplated passing a blanket prohibition against people carrying weapons onto private property that was being used as polling place. Attorney General opinion said that county commissions don't have the authority to issue blanket prohibitions like that. What they really did was reaffirm the right of private property owners to set that policy. So as it stands now, there are certain places that by statute are allowed to prohibit firearms. For example, places in the courthouse, DA's office, that sort of thing. And if they're used as a polling place, then that same prohibition can remain in place. Basically, what the Attorney General said is that the statute didn't give county commissions the legal authority to make that kind of decision, and for that reason, they couldn't. I think for purposes of us locally, and the judge can clarify this for me, the Kiwanis building, I think, has its own policy where it's already stated that firearms can't be brought onto that private property. So I think as far as we're concerned, nothing would really change locally. Is that right?
Well, there's 26 polling places. 24 of them are owned by somebody other than the county. 2 of them are owned by the county. One is at Beulah and the other one is at Marvin Odom. And so, even though I haven't read this opinion, just listening to you talk about it, it seems to me that you could, because you own those buildings, prohibit firearms in the building if you wanted to.
Yeah, this is you're probably right about that, because in the Chambers County opinion, they were coming in and basically instructing a private property owner as to what that private property owner could allow or not allow on that person's property, and that's what the Attorney General advised couldn't be done. So if the county is the owner, I think the county, you're right, could set that policy.
Does the action that we took earlier on posting, like here at the annex and other, does that apply to would we have to take further action for those two polling places?
For those two polling places? Well, I think that and Ben, correct me on this if I'm wrong, I think that what the statute requires is that the place where it's to be prohibited has to have it posted on the property. So if the county commission has already voted on that issue with respect to property it owns, I think the only other step you'd have to do is make sure that it's posted on the property itself. I don't think you would have to officially take any other action. But in order to be compliant with the statute, in order to accomplish the purpose that you want to accomplish, I think you've just got to post it on the facility.
Mr. Kennedy, will you take care of that matter?
Yes, sir. If that's what y'all like, I can do it on those two facilities that we do own. I can post it on those two places.
I got a question, Chairman. How about the fire departments? Will we just pay them so much to have a voting day? How about those? How are those gonna be handled?
If you have another agency, it'd be just like City of, who owns INOP? City of Op owns
City
it.
of Op owns
Their policy would cover it, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, following this opinion, what you do is you look back to who the owner is, and whoever that owner is, that owner decides. You can't decide for that owner, is what I understand the point of that opinion is.
I would recommend that we write a letter requesting that all owners of our polling places enact or take action to prohibit firearms in those during the voting. That's what I would recommend, and see if we can get some feedback that way.
Has there been any discussion or debate about this with the commission? I may have missed it.
We haven't debated it, it just came down Chambers County,
Right. Because, I mean, I think some discussion ought to be had about whether or not that's, I mean, why would we want to do that? Now, we haven't had a problem, and, you know, it seems some debate about whether we want to prohibit firearms in the polling place or not should take place before we.
Is there a difference between the open carry, because that's what we put it, there was a new open carry law.
Right. Well, this is just open carry from what I thought.
That's what I'm asking, is this firearms prohibited period, or open carry firearms prohibited?
You know, I think it's just open
Because
carry.
you talk about your First Amendment right or whatever, about Second Amendment right about carrying a concealed weapon, that's not what we're trying to stop, am I correct?
Well, on private property, I think you still have to show, you know, proper permit for a concealed weapon.
Right.
I don't think, well, first of all, keep in mind this about an Attorney General's opinion. It isn't law. All it is an advisory opinion for, you know, people like y'all to look at and follow. And it does give you some protection, but it's not, quote, the law. Although it is often a very good interpretation of what the law is and very good guidance. But what I understand this is that, as I understand it, it is for open carry only. It doesn't change anything with respect to a concealed weapon.
You know, on the one hand, you have the issue, and somebody who's it's open carry in a polling place, other people might find that to be intimidating.
That's what.
That's one issue. But a very equally and important issue on the other side is that open carry is the law in Alabama, and people have a right, with some restriction, to carry a firearm openly. And so, to me, I think before you fire off a letter to people and ask them to stop people from bringing weapons in there, I think you ought to debate those two issues and come to a consensus on what the commission wants to do, because I think both are very important issues. The right to carry the weapon is the law of the land in Alabama, and it has been for a long time. It hasn't just been recently passed. We've had open carry in Alabama for a long time.
I think that's a good point. One middle ground could be, instead of making a recommendation to other public entities in the county, you could just simply write a letter advising them that in light of this opinion, it is their determination to make.
Well, they wanted it.
So that, whether they want it or not, so that they're not looking to you to make some kind of official decision. I mean, you can just say, y'all need to have the debate that Judge Bowden's talking about, and it may be a good debate to have, but we're expecting y'all to do it in light of this opinion, not us. That's a middle ground in light of the fact that there's a election coming up fairly soon.
That was gonna be my next comment. We're talking about an election next Tuesday, and the timeliness of trying to get these letters, I mean, I'm not sure, I guess we have the addresses of everybody, but just to send them maybe a copy of this, is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I think you
A
would,
copy
and
of
just
this
say that they need to talk with whoever their council is and make the decision about what they wanna do. And again, for y'all's sake, what I wouldn't want is somebody expecting you to take some kind of action and then at the 11th hour saying, well, what are you gonna do?
Right.
And if you go ahead and get this off to them, you can say, well, it ain't about what we're gonna do. It's about,
It's what you want.
it's about what you
Well,
want to
really,
do.
we don't have it but two to make us a decision on, really.
And y'all have already made that.
They're not, that's made, so they're gonna have to get rid
Can
of
we
the fire
figure out
department.
To post no open carry?
That's what I suggest.
Right.
Get ahold of the fire departments, who people we released the buildings from that data.
No,
That's
what
pretty much-
Kevin's asking is, on the two that we own, is he to post a sign that says no open carry or no firearms at all? Because the little ones those little signs that I think y'all were instrumental in getting done, Sheriff, say no firearms at all, right? Is no open carry?
Well, I think you can just use whatever the sheriff's using.
I had some made for the courthouse that says no firearms at all,
That's what I
no
thought.
weapons at all.
Right.
Yeah, I have those made at the courthouse, but they may need to be different for the public.
Well,
That's my
I
question.
think it would need to be because as I understand it, the courthouses are specifically covered by the statute that says you can't bring them in. That's, in this, not that you asked this, but in this Chambers County opinion, what the county was raising the issue of is that when a polling place is designated, it's considered a courthouse annex for those purposes. And what the Attorney General said is that may be true, however, for this purpose, you can't fall under the section of the statute that prohibits firearms in public places, over a place you don't own. And so my thought would be that if a sign is put up, it should pertain only to open carry for these polling places.
Right.
In order to be consistent with this. You could put another phrase in there, something to the effect, and, with respect to anything else, compliant with the law or something, however, that doesn't really give you anything. I mean, people still have that same obligation, but,
I just think it needs to be the open carry. I mean,
Yeah, just let
that's
the,
always been the question.
and let the
The
owner,
question anytime somebody, when all this came about, being able to tote a gun, that was the big issue, people showing their weapon, they had the right to do that, and I just don't, I think it's intimidating to a lot of people. Especially, when you up there to vote and you think someone might not like the way you're looking at somebody. But I think it'd be better just to carry.
Another issue that was addressed, I think, in the opinion too, was that whoever the chief election official is to instruct the people that work at the polls, possibly on what to do if something happens with the weapons, I listened to him on TV last night, and he was emphasizing, that the workers at the polling place know what to do in case something happens.
We instruct them to call the sheriff's department if the chief inspector has any problem at all, whether it be, of a nature of anything they can't handle, if it's unorderly, some kind of misconduct. They have the sheriff's department's number, we post it at the precinct on a bright green piece of paper, and we've asked them to keep it close to them, and if they have a certain issue, to call Mr. Bowden or myself, and with any other issue, call the sheriff, and his number is right there on it, so there's no looking up in the phone book, that's the only thing we instruct them to do, that's the only way we know how to handle it, is to call the sheriff's department, should they have anything out of the ordinary, anything they can't handle.
Well, I think, this whole issue is we all need to be cognizant of what could happen and anything that we can do proactive to, prevent certain things. And that's the reason I brought it up, is that since it had become a major concern for the whole state, which includes us and all. So with that, if there's not any other comments about this issue. The other thing I'd like to mention is we have started construction on the jail expansion. Mr. Cap's workforce is doing the undercut or removing dirt at this time?
My work.
I
Actually,
think his
Kevin.
workforce.
Mr. Gabb's workforce was, a lot of them were on vacation last week, and the general contractor showed up ready to have that stuff done, and, I took the fence down and started excavating the dirt, and just this morning at 7 o'clock, I moved the excavator out of the fence. We got, all the dirt out, and, my crew's still over there with a backhoe, touching up around the edges and stuff, cleaning up. We're 99% complete of what we agreed to do.
So I guess at this point in time, the contractor will, when you notify him everything is fine,
I actually talked to him this morning also.
he would contact CNH Contractor, who has a subcontract to put in the field.
That's correct, as far as I know. And I've talked to him, Mr. John, with CNH, and he's been out here a couple of times already. And, he told me he would get started as soon as next week, what he told me.
Mr. Cap?
John called me this morning concerning the gate. Their trucks will not fit in the 10-foot.
I spoke with the sheriff about that, I spoke with the general contractor about it. They should have come and measured the gate before they agreed to deliver dirt. He said, we're not gonna open the gate up any bigger. And John says his mirrors are the only thing that won't go through it. So he may have to adjust his mirrors.
He said he hadn't signed a contract and he wasn't gonna sign it if he couldn't get in it, so I told him I'd pass it on to you this morning and let y'all know.
How big an issue is it to widen the gates, Mr. Meeks?
A big issue.
Have my new gate.
They on 10-foot span. He can fold his mirrors.
Is this going to be a problem for other subcontractors?
Yeah.
That's,
All of them that came out, they saw the opening. I don't know why it's an issue all of a sudden. They should have thought about it when they came out and looked at it and,
All I gotta do is fold the mirrors in when you get here, get ready to back in, get out of the truck, fold at least one in. Cause all you gotta do is watch, if you can watch one side, you're gonna clear the other. I mean, I drove the truck back up for me, so.
I guess this would be an issue, that.
Let them worry about it.
That the contractor and the subcontractor needs to work out.
Right.
But, it's good to know that, we may possibly be held up if he doesn't have a subcontractor. And if we get down to the point where no subcontractor will get in because of the gate, it looks like we will have to make some kind of, adjustment.
anything can be fixed or adjusted, but those, that Constantine wire and those posts are set in concrete footer that's about 2 foot deep, and it would be extremely difficult and costly to widen that, because the gates wouldn't shut back right, you'd have to have another gate built. I hope we can come to some agreement with the contractor and get them in there, because otherwise it's gonna be a pretty big expense to make it as secure as it is now and make it wide.
Chairman, I have a question. The trucks, they gonna be using the same width as the county trucks?
I don't know, I think some of the county trucks may be a little different.
We
We've
did
got-
a-
we've got-
Check that and let,
They did a
back the
tandem
county out
truck.
there and see if they can close the mirrors back on in, and
I've
that'd
backed
be the
county
best
truck
thing
in
to
there
do.
I've backed the county truck in there for a week, and the mirrors, if you didn't fold them in just a little bit, they did hit the gate, but now, I can also take the hinges of the gate and move them just a little bit and get about 4 more inches on each side, and I
Okay.
agreed to do that for John. I can still secure the.
I think everything be all right then.
Any other comments concerning the addition to the jail and the progress that we're making on it? At this time, does any of the board members have any comments they wish to make?
Chairman, I have a comment I'd like to make, and we done discussed this, and I don't know of anything far as we can do with the garbage. I've get several calls, still getting several calls on it. And some of them said they're not gonna pay it. So, and I told them I would bring it before the board. I didn't see any issue. We could handle it because they already been awarded the contract, and you can't pull the contract when they'd awarded it, so. I don't know anything we could do, and I did tell them, I asked Mr. Cassidy about giving the senior citizens a discount. And, I haven't called him, but I will get a hold of him and see if they can work on anything like that for senior citizens. But I don't know if anything we can, you wanna say something, Ms. Petty, go
Well, I
ahead.
was gonna tell you that I too have had lots of calls about that, and had a conversation with Mike Jones about the code section that actually gives that exemption for the Social Security being your sole source of income. Within that section, there is a provision that you could pass legislation now, not, y'all can't do it. The legislature would have to do it to set, a threshold that ties to 75% of the federal poverty, cap, federal poverty level, whatever you call it. But you can't do that. I've suggested to Mike that if he wants to talk to y'all about it, look at it, but I don't think you can do it mid-contract. Because if you start giving more exemptions and I feel like a lot more people would qualify at that level. But if you start giving more exemptions, that means the company is gonna lose money again. They're gonna be right back where they were. But I mean, mid-contract, I don't think there's anything you can do until this 3-year period expires. And then you might, between now and then, look at legislation that could set that exemption an additional exemption in addition to that Social Security being.
But if Mr. Cassidy's company wants to go ahead and do what they wanna do as far as giving, they can do that, right?
They can do that.
They can do that.
They
That's
can
what
do
I'm
it.
suggesting.
I mean, but they can. It's entirely
I
up
will
to
call
them.
him again.
Yeah.
Well, may I say something?
Yep, Mr. Terman.
I've had my ears bent twice about, this garbage fee. And I told one lady, I said, do the math on it. You'll find out it's pretty reasonable. You know, time you consider the truck, the fuel, the man, the insurance, the hobos, all of that's, given to us. And, I told her, I said, I pay the same thing you do, but I don't see it the way you do. But anyway, she let me know in no uncertain terms, she wasn't for giving nobody nothing. She wasn't for them getting it free. She was dead against it. She was contacting Jimmy Holly and Mike Jones
And Joe Barton.
and Joe Barton and Carl Kerman and Kenneth Northey and everybody else. So, and then another woman called me right behind her, and I'm sure she was put up to do it. But, I don't know what you could do about this.
Well, if you remember, Mr. Cassidy then wrote us a letter asking to, extend the contract with certain provisions to charge more, and we made the decision we would bid it out. And he made an issue about the exemptions for people on Social Security. If you exempt, every time you exempt somebody, then you're gonna have to charge the other people more.
That's right.
And it's a two-edged sword, it's, whatever you wanna do, and,
Cuts coming,
my response is, we bidded it out, we've sent proposals to 9 different companies, we got one back. Contract was expiring June the 1st, it was in the meeting in May, we had to do something, otherwise we would have garbage piling up. And,
Yeah.
The other thing is, the people that say they're not gonna pay it, we do have a, enforcement, person at the health department that, and I'm not sure exactly if they can write a citation, but
They can.
I don't
They
know
can.
what can be charged or if there's a fine or not.
I think they have to go.
We have to deal with that also, and we've had to deal with that just recently with issues of illegally burning household garbage. I had to respond to a scene Friday because of that, so our office is receiving calls regarding that, so it's already becoming the issue.
Well, I'm sure we're not the only county that's facing this, and I believe that in the future, it'll probably fall under the Public Service Commission at some point when all the counties get together and maybe can get a statewide contract or whatever that would maybe lower the cost, because we may have one provider in Covington County and another provider in Coffee and what have you, and they may can get it in a better region and do that, but we just gotta do what we gotta do right now, so they just have to do like all of us. is
Some of the
being-
callers to me have suggested that we go into the garbage business. I have listened to the rhetoric over in Ogg, and I don't really want to go back.
We don't even
No, we don't. They wanted us to be collected agent to start with, we've turned that down with the company that's got it with right now.
I
We
do
don't-
not think we want to operate a landfill and have to, deal with ADM.
I did ask that lady that called me if they wanted landfill next to her house, and she said no. I said, well, nobody else does either, so that's the way that works.
Well, I make
Yeah,
a motion.
it's good to let the public know that we are hearing them, of their complaints, and we are trying to address them. And because of the contract and the other, and the law, we are sort of constrained on what we can do at this point in time.
Amen.
I can
make
say
a motion
this,
to adjourn, Chairman.
I talked with,
Got the motion in.
Andalusia
Yeah.
and, I think what River Falls has,
They and ours.
well, one of the, is it River Falls again, one of them has their own pickup.
They got a little guy that goes around and picks up.
We're pretty much in line as far as our fees, with our cost raised, we're right there with them. I think Andalusia's around 18, 17, 18 something. I think River Falls, whatever, 17.90, we're 18 something, so we're all close. And op is cheaper, but they're operating in a loss, a big loss. And, there's no way they can't, at $20 a month, they couldn't break even at what they're with what the fees is costing them, so they can't charge enough, so we're operating at a loss, so, there's things that I've looked at and there's just no way, really, there's no good answer to it, but I think we're very much in line with everybody in the surrounding area. We're not out of line from other people.
I think we got about the best thing we can do.
And I told one lady, she was complaining about the free stuff, and I told her we would really have a mess if we didn't have a garbage, because we go back to the dumping side of the roads, we'd be dumping, if where you've seen there'd be garbage and be issues, so I think, we just have a bigger mess than ever.
Well, I do appreciate the news media placing an article in the paper explaining what we did and why we did it, and thought maybe that would slow down some of the calling, but undoubtedly it has not. I think one of the things that probably people more upset about is the amount of increase at one time, but that original contract had been in place
22 years.
22 years with a CPI index increase, and it was not keeping up with their costs. And some of the things that's in the CPI index do not include the cost of operating certain things with them, and so therefore there's a discrepancy. And so I think if we had not had such a big increase at one time, maybe we'd not had such a controversy. But we have a contract, and all I say is we go on, and if our state representative, state senator, wishes to talk to us about introducing legislation, we can entertain that at a later date.
That's it.
Well, I'd entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Yeah, I done heard that
Gotta say.
3 times.
Well, just a moment, we need to give our staff a chance,
I'm sorry.
if they have anything they would like to
I
address.
thought we did that.
There being none.
The only thing I will tell you, I have some letters here. The examiners of public accounts are on site to do your FY13 audit, and so I'll need to, y'all let me give you, it's just some engagement letters and things, that the normal procedure, but they'll be here hopefully they'll be only here a couple of months. So I expect it to go well.
Are they here already?
They're here.
I understood they were coming.
They're here, yeah.
I was told they were coming.
We have a motion to adjourn.
I so moved 4 times, Chairman.
Well, I didn't recognize you because I had issues to talk. All in favor, stand up.
All right, y'all all here.